is the story of how I created this egg. It all began with some powder and water, and I just mixed it together. This is Ultra Cal 30 with water, and I mix it together until it's nice and smooth and has no more lumps. And then I will pour it into a lovely silicone mold in which it will sit there in order to dry forever. Once it's done, I can pop it out, which is much harder than I just made it look like because I edited out the extremely long process. Then I had to decide what colors I wanted to use on this piece. I decided to do like a yellow to pink color gradient, and as I mixed up the colors, I realized I just made a whole bunch of the same color yellow, some orange, and a pink. I just kind of adjusted the colors by adding some of the other colors to the pots and just kind of moving down the line until eventually I did end up with a full color palette. After I was satisfied with that, I get to do the first dot, and on this dot, I always load it up with just a lot of extra paint. I'm just going to make it nice and plumpy, and then I can just use a little needle to just kind of swirl it around and smooth it out and get rid of that little peak. I decided to go with a sacred geometry pattern on this one, where I'm just bringing in the colors from the lighter down to the darker and back again. And during the process, mistakes were made. And I have decided that all these awkward shaped items that I paint on are always the ones I drop. I just cannot hang on to them. Up to that point, the piece was going along quite well. And then this definitely slowed me down and added a lot of time. But I was just patient and just removed as much paint as I could, got rid of any dots that looked a little smashed, and then I just go in and paint it black again. Yes, I'm using the Q-tip, and the reason why is it doesn't leave brush marks. And I end up putting on a thin layer, so it makes it a lot quicker to dry, so I can just get back to replacing all the dots that I had already painted and decided to destroy by having the object fly out of my hands and roll around on my table. Although I do find it satisfying to just go in and fill in these dots in the middle. That was actually kind of fun. Eventually, I got back to where I was before I dropped the piece, and I was able to just move forward from there. At this point, I did realize that I probably should have made those first dots a lot smaller so that my dots on the side wouldn't get so big, because it ended up getting really big here. And okay, it doesn't look very big here, but it ends up getting bigger. It ended up being like a whole bunch of pink in the center. I really wasn't liking it. I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I just kept moving forward. Once I got to the darkest pink, I started to work the colors back down, but I did get rid of one of the shades of pink just so that I can make the transition quicker into the orange and yellows, because I really wanted to bring that back. I didn't want it to be like an entirely pink stone. That wasn't what I was going for. So that was one way to kind of like just make those colors transition faster. With this piece, there was also a lot of time spent just sitting it down, letting it dry. It is just so much easier to paint the bottom half of things like this if you can just turn the stone upside down. In order to do that, you really got to make sure those dots are dry, and they can trick you. Sometimes they can feel dry, but then if you press on them and hold them with the weight of the stone, you can accidentally leave like little fingerprint marks in the dots. And once I got all the way down to the bottom, I could take a look at it and I realized I really hated the pink section. I really did. But I mean, it's too late now. So we're just going to accept it and move forward. I went ahead and put in all these little tiny detail dots, thinking maybe that'll make it better. And it didn't. I just really did not like it. So I came up with this idea. There ended up being an even number of dots going around, so I decided to take advantage of this and just place the gold dots on like every other row, skipping a dot in the middle, and it ended up creating like this really cool swirl pattern going around the egg. I got really excited about this idea, and I couldn't wait to see what it was going to actually look like when it was finished. I thought maybe the piece would be done once I finished this part, but the only problem is on the side, I really hated all that pink. All that pink was still driving me crazy. And I could have left it like this, and I did for about a week. And finally, I decided that no, I'm going to go ahead and just put gold dots on all of it. Do I regret this? No. Yes, maybe. I'm not sure. I really liked it with the swirl pattern. I thought that was really cool. It was just all the pink was just only adding to it. In order to fix those things and kind of hide it, I decided to go ahead and place the gold dots on all of the dots. And that seemed to do the trick. It just kind of takes your eye away from those things, Do I miss the little spiral design? Absolutely. But in the end, I'm really glad I did it this way. It ended up making it feel complete, and I'm really happy with the final results.